And Amy, so are you still sticking with Trump and his protectionist brinkmanship on trade after Harley announced that they're going to move some operations overseas to Europe because of the tariffs that have been imposed? So you know how this goes here, action, reaction, right? So Trump imposes tariffs on European steel. Europe imposed tariffs on Harley. Harley moves some production to Europe, and things are escalating. President Xi of China also said he is not going to turn the other cheek when it comes to tariffs and protectionist trade policy.
And it's not just Harley Davidson, the nation's largest producer of nails. Believe it or not, nails says Trump's steel tariffs may force them to close down or move to Mexico. Mid-Continental Nail Plant in Missouri laid off 6 workers last week, and the company says it's on the brink of extinction.
Trump expressing disappointment with Harley's decision, asking them to continue to be patient as they execute this strategy. Also, this report from a German magazine, sources telling this German magazine that Trump told French President Emmanuel Macron
with his wife Brigitte nearby
that Trump would maintain his trade policy, quote, until no Mercedes models rolled on Fifth Avenue in New York, unquote.
Ooh.
Well, now you've brought me into the fight.
Because
I need my Mercedes.
I
need my Mercedes imports. For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by Chief Economist for CNN, Wall Street Journal columnist, CNN, Steve. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Good morning. So how is this trade brinkmanship going for us? I know the Dow's off 13% since it started.
Well, look, the financial markets don't like trade wars, and so that's not too surprising. I happen to think that Harley Davidson made one of the worst, business decisions. This is going to go down in corporate annals. One of the worst decisions. I mean, this is like New Coke. They're going to, when I used to go to the Trump rallies, it would be typically 500 Harley Davidsons, parked on the side of the venue or the stadium or wherever the event was. Trump totally dominated the biker vote. Now, why is that important? Because they may gain more customers in Europe if they move a facility over there, but they're going to lose. They are going to lose a lot of their American customers, and their stock is way down. Now, look,
but it's $2,200 more a bike. So they had no choice, and I thought they're moving some of its production to Thailand.
You guys are burying the lead here, with all due respect. Trump is going to win here. Trump always wins. So, these Europeans, I was listening to you guys talk about how, the Chinese and the Germans are saying, we're not going to put up with these protectionist policies. That's all they've imposed on us for the last 20 years. I mean, we didn't start this fire. They did. They have much higher tariffs on our goods than we do on theirs. All Trump wants is reciprocity. He wants a level playing field with the Europeans and especially with China and Japan. And we don't have a level playing field today.
So you don't think there's a chance that Trump's going to back down on his tariffs? If U.S. companies continue to complain?
I think that what's going to happen, first of all, we cannot cave into blackmail tactics of the Europeans and the Chinese. That would be catastrophically bad for the United States. We can't cave in now. They're the ones who are going to have to cave in, and they're going to have to level the playing field. And look, my buddy Larry Kudlow 2 weeks ago in Canada at the G7 meeting put a zero tariff option on the table. Why don't we all reduce our tariffs to zero? And the Europeans and the Japanese practically had a heart attack over that notion. They don't want zero tariffs. They want high tariffs on our goods and services, but they want us to open up our market for their products. And frankly, that just doesn't work for us anymore.
I mean, it doesn't work for us anymore because that's not Trump's position and the position of some that are...
Well, not just Trump, Dan. I mean, this was a very, very popular position with American voters across the Midwest who believe that the trade situation with China and these other countries is costing America high-paid jobs. Now, look, my position, I'm going over to the White House to talk to Kudlow and a bunch of the economists over there today. Look, my position is keep making the American economy more competitive with tax cuts, deregulation, all these other things. We're going to suck capital from the rest of the world. We're going to beat these other countries. So you guys know I'm not a big fan of the steel tariffs. I think the auto tariffs, the idea that you can't roll a BMW down Fifth Avenue. I mean, that's crazy. By the way, a BMW, half of the BMWs aren't even made in Germany.
Well, I know.
They're made here.
Well, that's the craziness of all of this sort of globalization demagoguery too, particularly as it pertains to trade. And I don't care if it's popular or unpopular.
I agree.
Economics is not based on majority opinion. It's based
Dan,
it's based on the iron laws of economics, and one of them is it pays to be preemptorily free trade, as you know.
Okay. So Dan, I want to basically challenge you and Amy this morning. Are you just in favor of unilateral free trade? We just open up our markets, regardless of what the other nations do.
Well, I like Governor Scott Walker's idea. He wants to end all tariffs. His idea is to end all tariffs.
Well, that's what Donald Trump has put on the table.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't end all tariffs unilaterally. I mean, I understand what Kudlow.
Well, I mean, by the way, Dan, Milton Friedman was in favor of unilateral free trade.
Well, I know, so am I. Yeah, so am I.
But I'm just saying I don't think it's going to work. And I do think in the end, here's why I think you can tell I'm getting indigestion this morning because you guys are going wobbly on me.
No, no.
Trump is going to win here. We just have to stick it out. Look, let's look at China for a minute because China is the big villain here. And if I have a problem with Trump's trade strategy, I think he made a big mistake in not isolating China as the problem child. And they are the problem child. But China is they're cheating, they're stealing, they're building their military. They're laughing right behind our back as we continue to open our market to them. I talk to business women and men all the time who say it's just almost impossible to penetrate the Chinese market. Some people from Apple came over to Heritage the other day. They said there's 150 Apple stores over in China. Only 3 of them are actually owned by Apple. The rest are just phony baloney. They put the Apple insignia in front of the store. That's just cheating, stealing. We can't. Why do we put up with that?
Well, I agree with the why do we put up with that, and we shouldn't put up with piracy of our technology and appropriation of intellectual property. I agree with that. But in terms of the fundamental question, does it pay to be unilaterally free trade in terms of economic vitality? It absolutely does. We know this. We know mercantilism doesn't work except for those that are the beneficiaries of their rent-seeking behavior. You don't want government in that business, so we don't want government in that business. If the play, and here's my real problem, is I know what Larry Kudlow's play is, what he says the play is, which is ultimately this is a game of poker to get to a lower tariff environment across the board.
I totally agree with that.
Well, if that's really the play, but from Trump, I don't get that that's really the play. I get that he sees trade as a zero-sum, and this trade war is a zero-sum game, and he's willing to push us into recession to pursue this policy. That's the feeling I'm starting to get.
I can't. I've talked to Trump many times about this, and there's some truth to what you just said, Dan. I mean, he doesn't totally get the trade. He understands that when 2 people or 2 countries trade together, they both benefit. But he does view it a bit as, if they sell more to us than we sell to them, then we're a loser. And I think he's way over obsessed with the trade deficit figure because the trade deficit doesn't matter. I mean, our trade deficit is going to go up this year because our economy is so healthy. Americans are buying stuff because they're getting, they've got jobs, they're getting raises, all of that stuff. So, look, there's some truth to what you're saying. But ultimately, I do believe he understands that if he can get this done and he can get the Europeans and China to open up their markets to more American products and reduce their trade barriers, you talked about the 11% decline in the Dow. The Dow is going to go up 50% if he can achieve that. The goal, and that's why I don't want people to go wobbly. I'm pissed off at companies like Harley Davidson. Mm-hmm. Let's stick with the program. If these other countries need access to the United States more than we need access to them, you think we have to lay off workers? They're going to have to lay off a huge amount of their workforce if they can't trade with the United States.
Well, do you know about Mid-Continental Nail Plant in Missouri?
No, tell me about it.
Well, no, they've just laid off 6 workers, and they said they're at the brink of extinction.
Oh, I just heard you talking about that.
Right. Yeah.
Look, that's why steel tariffs are stupid. You guys remember 3-4 weeks ago we had this discussion. You asked me what I thought about the steel tariffs, and I said this is stupid because for every steel worker we have 10 workers, 15 safety workers who use steel, and this is a perfect example of what we talked about before. That's why the steel and the auto tariffs are dumb. I mean, I was just in the South. I've been in South Carolina, Texas. I was in Alabama. All you see in those states is BMW plants. There's a Saturn plant. There's a Toyota plant. I mean, the whole idea of where these cars are made is hard to figure out these days.
Well, and in your recent piece that I read, at least in Investors Business Daily, the state of the American worker's never been better. You point out the optimism of like the National Association of Manufacturers who are meet with Trump this week. And but that optimism can go away. And I know we're projecting
That's true.
3
and
4% GDP growth, but we also have sort of worker wages, worker productivity stagnation, and wages just starting to creep up a little bit, but in an increasingly higher interest rate environment. So this is all very tenuous, and so
it is.
He's got to thread the needle just so, and so there are questions that should be asked of him, challenges that should be made.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think you summarized it very well, that this is a high-risk game of poker, and I think that metaphor works. This is a game of poker, and if Trump can win, it'll be a huge victory. If he blinks here and backs down, I think the longer-term implications of that for America's economic and national security are weakened. So, but Trump, I do believe, ultimately wants to get – he loves a booming stock market. He loves a strong economy. And I think it's going to give him a little bit of pause when he sees, for example, what Amy just mentioned, that American companies are having to lay off workers because of these tariffs. That's exactly the opposite result of what he wants to see.
Well, and one of the points that was made on Varney yesterday, too, is looking at the 10-year to 2-year T-bill yield spread. And when that inverts, that's been like a canary in the coal mine for 60 years in terms of a recession not far behind. And, that spread is nearing inversion. And so some of these leading economic indicators should perhaps be monitored and taken seriously.
Yeah, but look, I mean, I'm really bullish on the U.S. economy. I mean, you were going to get 5% growth for the second quarter or close to that. You look at the Capital X, investment spending by businesses, it's really good. I mean, those manufacturing numbers. Now, look, you're right. A lot of that can turn on a dime. But, for right now, that's the other thing that's so interesting is, the Wall Street Journal headline last week was U.S. economy is the envy of the world. We're growing faster than just about any other country. Europe is only growing less than 1%. We're at 4.5%. So maybe they should be following our lead rather than the reverse.
Well, there's no question, but we don't want to follow their descent. Is that the concern? All right, he is Steve.
Okay, but Dan and Amy,
yes,
do not go wobbly on me.
No, I love the word wobbly.
All right.
Okay, I won't become a weeble wobble.
We're weebles. Right. We wobble, but we don't fall down.
Okay. Hi, guys.
Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.